What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Um, Today, we'll have the writer director, as you saw in the description of Street Survivors. So let me bring him on. Give me one moment. Let's see. Here we go. So I have Jared Cohn, writer director. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain. Just chilling. Um, Not much. Yeah, just thank you so much for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. But yeah, not too much. Just grinding along out here in LA.
Absolutely, I get you. Just to start first, can you talk a bit about the film's infancy and those beginning stages of getting this project together?
Oh yeah. So I really owe all the credit to Brian. He Artemis the band signed to his record label, and they had the idea of to make a movie, and they brought me on. So that's how the project got. That was the origin story. Um, you just sometimes you bump into people, that make a really big impact in your life, and Brian Pereira was one of them. He's given me great opportunities, and this one definitely is huge for me as a filmmaker. So shout out, Brian.
Gotcha, absolutely. With this band, it's such an iconic band, and there were so many moments, I'm sure, to draw from in putting this film together. So, can you talk a bit about what influenced the decision to highlight the unfortunately the tragic moment that happened with that band, and versus like some of other moments per se that could have been the focus.
Um, well, I mean, I think it is a biopic in some sense, but the sort of what the route that they wanted to go was to make a movie that sort of focuses on the plane crash, because um, it's not necessarily a traditional movie, which usually the main character of a biopic is the lead singer, and very rarely do you, or if ever, do you have a movie that kind of the main character is the drummer. So this film is really not unconventional in that regard, that the main character was the drummer, and that the actual actor, the actual person is also intercut in the movie. So we took sort of a different approach than most filmmakers who make a movie about a rock band or a true story. So pretty much it's unconventional in many methods. So and the plane crash, was such a tragic moment in rock and roll history that we wanted to include that as a highlight. Not to Certainly not to be exploitative, um, or make a plane crash movie. Although obviously it is a movie about a plane crash and a band. So it's more like it's like three movies in one. Um, but that's just sort of kind of how it went down. As I was working on the script, it became sort of its own thing. Uh, that's kind of a long-winded answer, I guess.
Yeah, no worries. Well, with that being said, I feel like biopics are perhaps the trickiest thing to navigate in putting together, especially if it's very easy to make it subjective versus objective. And I mean, a good case in point, I don't know if you're a sports guy. We just had the recent sports doc, Jordan sports doc.
I got to
Um,
see that. Yeah, I've been
yes.
doing that. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, with a subjective perspective versus objective perspective, everyone's going to have uh, their perception of everything that occurred in a given event. Regardless of who's there, they're all everyone's going to have their own way in which they processed what happened. So in that, with keeping that in mind, was that something that you in putting together the film and developing the film, something that you were wary of in doing a biopic, because you're going to come across that regardless in any given situation?
So you're talking about like oppose other people's opinions that
Yeah,
could
just in general,
contradict.
because you'll have, I mean, in a given
Yeah.
situation, if 5 people are in a room and they're recounting an event, a lot of times everyone is going to have their own
Yeah.
idea of what transpired. So, and that's just when you're dealing with biopics in general. I know oftentimes, um, you'll have folks to say, yes, it happened this way, versus folks to say, no, it didn't really happen this way. Was that, in developing the film, was that a concern of
Oh
yours, or
yeah.
something that you had in mind as you were developing this film?
Absolutely. And there are so many accounts of this story. And as I was doing my research, this guy would say this thing happened, the other guy that thing happened. Um, Fortunately, for me, we were able to work with Artemis Pyle, who's not many people are left alive from the plane crash, and I spent a lot of time with Artemis, who was on the plane, who survived the plane crash, who was in the band. So it's hit. I made the decision to tell his story, and so if he said it went down like this, or this thing happened and that thing happened, the movie is that's what the movie is going to predict, to portray. Um, Granted, there were some moments where I had to sort of fill in the blanks with other events or situations that were going on that he necessarily wasn't there. So I relied on research that I did, the books and the music and listening and interviews and whatnot. But ultimately, if there was a contradicting story point, I leaned on what Artemis had to say, because he's the most important audience member, because he's alive and it's a movie through his vantage point. And yeah, oh yeah, there's a lot. When we got sued by the estate, the woman behind it, she has her whole version of the story. And there's there's so many, there's so many contradictions that and people were just saying, no, he didn't do that, didn't do that. So I just, at that point, at some point, it just became noise to me what other people outside of Artemis were saying, unless there was something that I needed to figure out. But yeah, this is Artemis Files story.
Gotcha. Um, so in lieu of what the band that this film talks about, for you, what was your, on a different note, like what was the song for you that introduced you to this band?
Um, I mean, I think for me, the first song that really um, made an impact was "Freebird." Um, I'm sure that was obviously one of their main hits. But after investigating, after listening to more music, Simple Man became such an amazing song to me. But yeah, Freebird set it off, and I think that was one of their greatest hits, and it holds up. It's just such a great song.
All right, awesome. Now I've been talking to many of the guests that have been on here regarding, everything. Obviously, the current landscape of things being shut down. Thankfully, things are starting to slowly pick back up. But I'm sure, with this film as well, unfortunately, didn't really wasn't really provided the opportunity or was cut short based on the social distancing aspect. So can you speak to that and now how that is kind of affected your day to day as a writer director?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, this film was supposed to have a limited theatrical release, in major cities, and which would have been cool. But of course, that all got shut down because of social distancing and the virus, whatnot. Um, in regards to my day to day, I actually did shot a movie amidst all the craziness in Florida, which never really shut down. And a lot of people kind of low key were still filming. Um, it's sort of a myth, a misconception in the internet, and especially with people that are shooting content, mostly independent films. That initially everyone sort of put things on pause, but not too long after, a lot of people were making films. Like, I don't want to say who or this or that, but it never really stopped. Everyone thought it did, but it stopped for a lot of people. But for sort of the mavericks and the people that that ran risks, calculated risks, they went forth, and we never stopped shooting.
Gotcha. So with that in mind, what is, I know you're still in the process of promoting this film, obviously, but what's up next?
So I did a DMX movie which just came out. I got a movie coming out August 8th, which is a thriller. It was important movie for me because I produced it as well, along with my producing partners. And then after that, I believe I'm potentially heading to out of state to do another Lifetime type movie, and then I got a couple other projects, with no hard date. Possibly a script that I have to write, and another one I have to rewrite. It's really it's been busy. I've been really busy. It's probably like the busiest I've been kind of ever. It's sort of very grateful to be very busy. That said, it's important to sort of navigate when you get a lot thrown at you, what is worthwhile. Not necessarily worthwhile in terms of saying certain things aren't worthwhile, but kind of choosing what's right, what feels right, and what you should do. Because I was just sort of on a side note. I'm always like, go, go, go. There's a movie. Let's shoot it. Let's get out there. Let's just make it. And I still am like that to a fault almost sometimes, because it's sort of the way I operate is full steam ahead. But I think I'm coming to a point shortly where I'm going to be a little bit more. I'm going to kind of take not a step back, but just like a step. Just be a little bit more thoughtful about the projects that I really want to get involved in. But I mean, that may not be the case. I may just be like saying this and that, and something may come along, and I'll just jump on it. You know.
Sure, sure.
It's hard to say no when someone wants you to, gives you the opportunity to do something. It's such a, there's a million other people that would take it. So it's kind of like you got to judge. Saying you have self-worth in an artistic way, saying it yourself is difficult because you always want to say yes, and you always want to be busy, and you always want to work. I mean, these are all like psychological things, and I know you speak with entrepreneurs, and you're an entrepreneur yourself, and it's a completely different mindset as someone who's kind of carving out their own path. At what point do you pivot a little bit? And
Sure.
it's not like no one's telling you anything. You got to take your own make your own decisions. So I'm sort of in that, and it's there's no clear path, and it's sort of been it's a thing that I'm dealing with, but it'll be okay. That's some therapy shit right there.
Well, there you have it. Just for those out there, Street Survivors hits Blu-ray, DVD, and digital on June 30th. Jared, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on, man. Can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. IMDb, which is internet, everyone sort of knows that's sort of where my movies are. If someone wanted to see anything I've done in the past, I'm on Instagram at Jared Cohn 1. I'll type it in the thing if you want it. Well, at Jared Cohn 1. Oh, so that's my Instagram. I don't have many followers, I'll be honest with you, and sometimes I post a lot of stuff with my dog, Fred. But Fred's a very important character in in my life.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Again, Jared Cohn, writer and director of Street Survivors. Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. See you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you, Brandon.